Weave baskets and play with her friends, you know, go for weddings, just carefree attitude that's no longer there. What is she now really? Still a child, not a child? What is she?
It was a weekday and we were on our way to Ungwa after Academy in Gaya local government area of Kano State. It was early in the morning as we approached the town and we could see students riding on bicycles and others walking to school. Academy is not only busy with students. There are also brisk activities by traders heading to the market. But the pace slows as we left Academy. The hustle and bustle quickly gave way to wide expanses of fields where nature rules. We felt our arrival in Uwa when we encountered some children shying away from our camera. At the entrance to the small community was a line of people from this community waiting to fetch water from this pump that is their main source. It is Baliki's turn now. She is 14 and her daily chores includes this routine, which has now become a staple in her life in this village. Weaving a donkey's mat is usually her major task each day, an activity that has now become like an occupation for her.
Da safe in gari ya waye, na tallan koko, na ibar ruwa, in saƙa, mu tafi wasa da yamma. Ana gaya mana ƙawa'idi, ana gaya mana Allahu la ilaha illa huwa, ana gaya mana wannan Rabi'i lawam, ana gaya mana wannan, ana koya mana wa sallallahu, ana koya mana ƙawa'idi kan, ana koya mana wannan. Shekaratun da ake gaya mana. Ina gaisuwa, ina sallah, ina azumi.
Two years ago, in this same community, Wasila Uma also went through similar routines until she got married. But 14-year-old Wasila's marriage only lasted for 17 days before she poisoned her 35-year-old husband. Marrying off young girls from below 18 years old is a common phenomenon in Nigeria, a country with the third largest number of child brides in the world. A UNICEF statistics says half of Nigerian girls are married before they turn 18, a practice that is more prevalent in the northern part of the country.
We do have a very high number of child brides, especially here in the north, Kano being one of them. And the figure is high, especially when you go down into the rural areas. It's improving in the urban areas as at least they're getting to finish secondary school. But in the rural areas, you still find that girls, before they can finish secondary school, normally the problem is when they're in junior secondary school. You know, that's when they're coming to the end of JS3, which is the 3rd year, they're taken out and married off. And so you can find, I remember a principal of one of the schools in the rural areas telling us she could start with like 300 girls. But by the time she gets to SS, that's senior secondary school, she has about 10 girls left. That's a real difference, you know, from 300 to about 10 girls in a class. That's terrible. Families tend to be large. So you can have maybe a man, especially if it's in the rural areas, having more than one wife, and each wife maybe having a minimum of maybe 7 children that he can't really afford to look after. He's a farmer, as farming is mostly what their occupation, but what they earn is not enough to sustain them through the year. So the first individual to go in a family is the girl. That's also to do with the patriarchal nature of society, whereby women, unfortunately, are looked as on a lower status than that of men, where the only ambition a woman should have is to get married and have children. So when you have poverty and then you have this low status of girls, it contributes to child marriage. The religious aspect, I don't know, sometimes I feel it does not actually really play a very significant role the way we think. Even though, yes, we bring up the issue about the Prophet marrying a very young girl, Aisha, but when we look at the fact that his first wife was way older than him, she was not in her 20s or anything, she was already 40, then we can see that age is not really, you know, the Islamic aspect side of it is not really that strong. I just tend to think it's mostly from conversations, it's always this issue of poverty. And then in education too. Education, because people, again in the rural areas, don't see the value or the importance of education. So and then the quality of education again is poor. Girls go to school, at the end of the day they come out and they're barely literate. I mean, we've seen them because we interact with them, and we see girls that can barely write their names. So parents think, okay, so what's the point? She goes to school, can't read or write, so why are we wasting so much time? And we're not well off. We have to pay school fees, buy books, buy uniforms, you know, and then in the end she's going to marry. She's going to be somebody else's responsibility, so why do we want to waste money on her? They don't have role models also in the communities, especially, I'm still talking about rural communities. They don't have other women that they can look up to and aspire to be like her. Somebody who's done well, doing very well, and they can think, oh, but look at her, that's a good example. They don't have those role models.
One afternoon, while the village women in Uwa were busy preparing lunch for their families, we visited Wasila's father to find out why he decided to marry off his daughter at that very young age.
Anji an gano an ce Umar ne, an tabbata shi ne in ce to ta fita. An dawo an ce ba Umar ba ne, in ce to ba za ki fita ba. Da haka idan muka shekara a haka. Kaka tana yi aka ci gaba da zancen aure, lafiya lafiya aka yi biki komai da komai. Allah da ikonsa inda aka yi aure kawai da ta je gidan wai gaba ɗaya ta ji kuma ba ta son sa. Da ta ji ba ta son sa mu mu san me yake ciki ba. Ta je ta karɓo kayan abota ta raba cingan da kanta ta je ta yi komai da komai aka ma, amma da ta je gidan kuma ita gaba ɗaya ta ji ba ta son sa. Shi ne ake ta samun ta kowa ya je gidan ya tare tana kuka. Ko a je gidan ya tare tana kuka ana cewa Wasila kukan me take ne? Ana cewa ko kukan rabuwa da iyaye ne. Saboda wasu yaran sun ga gaban iyayen suna wannan. Kukan rabuwa da iyaye ne, ashe ji ta yi ba ta son mijin gaba ɗaya. Kawai sai aka buga min waya aka ce ina ne. Na ce me ya faru? Aka ce ka je Umar ne ya mutu. Na ce waye Umar kuma? Aka ce Umar mijin Wasila. Na ce me ya faru?
He blamed lack of schools in the area for early marriage in the community, and we found out that indeed there were no elementary or secondary schools in Ungwa. Since the parents are not able to provide education, skills acquisition centers, industries, or employment opportunities for their children, families here say they are left with no choice but to marry off their young girls.
Nan ba mu da makaranta. Nan ba mu makaranta. Ko Islamiyya ba mu da ita. Nan duk inda muke din nan gabaki ɗaya yaran nan ba mu da makaranta gabaki ɗaya. Duk yaran nan namu haka sai dai yawa suke ba makaranta. Yanzu in kan san yaro ya makaranta sai dai ya je kademi nan ya dawo. Ka duba da kademi zuwa nan. Ba mu makaranta, ba hanya, ba makaranta, ba mu da komai a nan a garin nan namu.
But Baliki says she has no intention of marrying early.
Ara gidan. Eh. Ni ai yarinya ce mai aure ba. Ina so kafin aure na in ka talle ina saka. Ina makaranta ta allo.
We asked Baliki's father if he would allow his daughter to remain unmarried until she is at least 18 years old.
Daga shekara 5 dai abin da ya dora isama muna aurar da yara mu kuma insha Allah ba a samu mata matsala. To ai mu abin da muka taso muka ga manyan mu suna yi. Kiya mu a ƙauye akwai dalili. Yaran mu na ƙauye ba sa makaranta. Wannan rahin makaranta shine yake sa ake aurar da su kamar daga misalin shekara 15 a ƙauye. Wanda yake abun ni za su kai shekara 17, 18 wasu ma har zuwa 20 suna makaranta. Amma mu a ƙauye da ba makaranta shine yasa yarinya in ta samu shekara 15, 16 ake aurar da ita. Nan kuma daga 14 zuwa 15 ake aurar da su a ƙauye saboda ba makaranta a ƙauye.
It appears that girls forms the majority of this community's population. It also seems to us that apart from farming, the major occupation here, procreation, is a near second. In the meantime, Balikis can still be carefree while playing with her peers.
Gada is the game. The girls find time to do this every day. These are the things that Wasila did when she was in the village and things that she might never be able to do again.
Basila was arrested about 2 years ago, charged with culpable homicide. She was released to the care of Issa Wali Foundation last year. Despite all efforts, we were denied access to her. So we had to gather information about her from those in her community who knew what might have pushed her to the brink. At her late husband's home at Yansuru, a close-by community, we met Abdullah Lamido Musa Wasile's brother-in-law, who told us everything happens according to God's will.
Ba wani akas kawai dai Allah ne kawo kaddara kai haka ba wani akasi daga samu.
It is also worthy of note that the only educational center in Yansuru is an Islamic school. Amina Hanga thinks was still about to pressure when she was exposed to a marital situation for which she was not emotionally or physically prepared.
It was just a very, very unfortunate, sad thing. And this is something that should make us all sit up and learn a lesson from it. This was about child marriage, being forced into a marriage that she didn't want, and thinking that if she did this, from what she told us was she had thought he would get a very bad tummy ache, you know. I feel like saying this is the thought of a child, not realizing that it would have such drastic consequences. And unfortunately, again, he shared this meal with others, you know, so it was a really traumatic for everybody, even for the girl and her parents themselves, what happened, you know. It's sad.
But what could attract a grown man to a minor, underage girl?
I don't want to say. So I think because the more I look at it, sometimes I wonder, is it like a kind of, anyway, I don't know what to say. There are so many men, maybe you need to speak to the men, that why do they look at little girls and decide that this is the person I want? You know, why don't they look for more mature women closer to their age who they can even have a conversation with? A 8-year-old girl or 12 or 13, what sort of conversation can you have with her? Unless you're going to play with her teddy, her dolls and her sleigh toys, what are you going to talk about? You know? I don't know what to say. I've been asking myself that question. I know that some people will say, maybe, are they pedophiles? You know, I know that's what some people would say. I've been asking myself that, what's the attraction to little girls? Why? You know, and then you even look at the issue of rape. Small kids being raped. Why? There's something obviously going on that maybe there needs to be a research to find out what's going on. Why a man would look at these small kids. Why he should not feel, why doesn't he feel protective of that child? Instead of looking at her as a potential sexual partner.
Marriage, we're constantly told, requires two consenting adults who are physically, emotionally, and psychologically ready for it. Obviously, these child brides lack those characteristics.
She's a child, whether we like to believe it or not. She's still a little girl who should be playing with her friends, who should be doing all the things a child would do, not being thrust into motherhood, into the position of a wife. Even as an adult, when you get married, it's not easy, you know, suddenly having a relationship with a man, having children, looking after home. These are all things that it takes you a while to learn. Talk less of a little child.
In Zaria, the child bride trend is not so different. We met Zainab at the hospital in town where she was receiving treatment for viscovaginal fistula, VVF. She got married at the age of 14 and had her first child at 16.
Amun aure na samu ciki. Na samu ciki. Da na samu ciki cikin da ya isa haihuwa, farkin bacci karfe 3:30 na fara naƙuda. Da na fara naƙuda ba a kai na asibiti ba sai da yamma ta yi. Da aka kai na asibitin na kwana ɗaya nan ma su ce ba za su iya ba. Siyo takarda su ba mu zo nan Zaria.
While VVF might not necessarily be caused by early marriage and birthing, younger girls are also prone to it.
It's an abnormal connection between the vagina and the bladder, where there is a continuous dribbling of urine. The person will always be wet, whether he's lying down, sitting, or walking. that's VVF. And there's RVF sometimes, that's licking of stool. Sometimes a person may have only the VVF or the RVF, and there are people that sometimes have both VVF and RVF. That's licking urine and licking stool at the same time. And sometimes what causes the VVF, the number one major cause is prolonged obstructed labor, where a woman will be in labor and it exceeds more than 24 hours. And there are other causes apart from the obstructed labor. For now, I can say I have about 32 of them here, and those that are about the age of 17, 18, 16, I think there are about 8 of them now.
They are also prone to emotional and psychological traumas. The Child Rights Act, sections 21, 22, and 23 makes provision for the protection of girls from early marriage, but is still footless in most of the states.
Marriage, to a certain extent, of a minor might be prohibited under the Child Rights Act, but there are so many traditions, so many issues of religion and what have you, that may likely come up. To a certain extent, it's still something that has not been defined.
The Child's Rights and the VAP Act, just to name one or two of them, have been, these are acts from the federal government, at the national level. But within the states, they're still to be domesticated. If we don't have laws and policies in place that will protect women and children and girls, then all the things that we continue to see will continue to happen. If it's domestic violence, sexual, gender-based violence, because there's no law to support that can be used to back up. We keep talking about the Child's Rights Act. I give you an example here in Kano State, for instance. They've adopted it, and they adapted it, and they renamed it the Kano State Child Protection Bill. It's a bill, it's not a law up till now, So, and this is like, we're talking about, we're going on for 6 years now, 5, 6 years, that is still sitting there as a bill. We need to have this passed into law. They won't pass it into law because in the child's rights, they got the minimum age of marriage as 18. Whereas what they did with this amended one was they took it out and put age of puberty. Now that's a real challenge. You can get a girl reaching puberty at 8. Does that make her marriageable? She's a child, whether we like to believe it or not. She's still a little girl.
Wasila may not be in detention, but she may never be the same again, mentally and emotionally.
Allah ya fito da ita. Nan suka zo hannun suka zo suka zauna suka ce Wasila Allah ya fito da ita. Amma sun ce tana so za ta karatu. Na ce Allah ya taimaka. Allah ya taimaka. Allah ya saka muku da alkhairi kuma da ku dauki nauyin dawainiyar nan. Allah ya saka muku da alkhairi. Ina tunanin ta mana.
She has no childhood, really. It's gone. From the time she was married off, that was the end of childhood. No longer playing with her friends and doing the things that she used to do before. She used to make, weave baskets that were, that they placed over the backs of donkeys to fill with sand. She used to do that. And play with her friends, go for weddings, just carefree attitude that's no longer there. She's, what is she now really? Still a child, not a child, what is she, But yet she can't go back to childhood. Just this experience in itself has moved her away. She can never regain her childhood. This is something that will live with her, will haunt her for the rest of her life. So yeah, we destroyed her childhood, really.